That's
Okay,
it.
so
I
we're
think,
on.
yeah.
Great, excellent. All right. Well, hi everyone. Welcome. This is my very first interview podcast, and for those who don't know me, my name is Paul, or many online know me as Sifu Paul Fernandez. And tonight I'm here with Sifu Leo Au Yeung. Is that correct? Is that correct?
Yes,
Perfect.
you're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's a long-time practitioner of Wing Chun Kung Fu. And I've been researching a lot of this stuff, of late. And it's really good to have you on the show. And welcome, first of all. So I'm glad you're here.
Yes, thank you. Thank you
Anyway,
for inviting me, for the podcast.
my pleasure, my pleasure. Well, I'll start with the questions because we foreplanned all this, and I prepared a list of questions. So a little bit embarrassed because being my first podcast, I don't want to make any mistakes. So anyway, the first time I heard about you actually was mainly through Adam Prato in my small group. I've got my small Wing Chun Dao international group online, and he always speaks really highly of you. And a lot of that started off when we started talking about actually internal Wing Chun. And he says, "Oh no, we had him here in the USA, and he's really great." And he shared a couple of videos, so that's where I started, hearing about you. And so I was also happy because now we've got to know each other a little bit more, and you've been posting a bit of your stuff in my group as well. And I guess what I like a lot about what you do is the fact that you know, you research a lot. You're not very fixed in your ways, and very similar to the way I grew up with Wing Chun, and I found that very interesting as well. So the thing is that I wanted to know, maybe you can tell all of us a little bit about your history, your training study as well. Where
Yes,
did it all
of
begin?
course. Yes, of course. So basically, I start my Wing Chun journey, if you like, when I was about 14, 15, right? I was in Hong Kong, I live in Hong Kong, born in Hong Kong, basically, right? So, my
Okay.
parents, they think about, send me over to England to a boarding school to study. So, at that time, my parents think about, I should learn some martial arts before I go to UK to study. So they asked the family friend, actually, I got one uncle. He is training Wing Chun at the time. So and then he said, "Oh, Wing Chun is really, really good system. You can use Wing Chun in a really close space, So close distance fighting style is really practical, blah, blah, blah." So I know nothing about Wing Chun at the time, and I heard about it, as a Chinese. I know what is Wing Chun, but I don't know the detail. And then he point me to the direction, and there's a Grandmaster Yip Jun, in my area, so near where I live. So he said he's a good teacher and you should go to see him. This is how I start my Wing Chun journey. So I start with Yip Jun when I was maybe 14, 15, and then I studied with him for about 2 years before I go to UK to study. And then since then, every summer holiday, I go back to Hong Kong and train under Yip Jun. But because sometimes Sifu Yip Jun he have to go to UK to do seminar, yeah. So he will ask Sifu Yip Jing to do the class as well for him, yeah, to substitute his class. So I'm in the gym anyway, so I train with Sifu Yip Jun, sometimes I train with Sifu Yip Jing. But majority of the time, I train with Sifu Yip Jun if he's in Hong Kong.
Right, right, right. Wow, so you got to train
Yes.
with both of them. That's quite a privilege. I think that would have
Yes.
would have been an
Yes.
experience.
Yeah.
And
So this is how I start, when I was young.
right. Well, I got to ask you. So you're going to let us know how old you are?
I'm 47.
You're 47. Okay. Oh, well, you're
Yeah.
young. You're younger than me.
Just
But
tiny bit, just tiny bit, just tiny bit.
yeah, I'm nearly 13 years older than you, but I look younger than you.
Yeah, of course. I'm not arguing about that. Yeah. So anyway, so this is
And
how I start,
that must have been amazing. I always, I had a bit of a fascination towards the application work that Master Ip Chin had. I thought he was pretty cool. The way it seemed a bit different, you know, to the way he worked compared to Master Ip Chin. You know, I mean, every teacher, every lineage, all had their own unique way of working. So it was interesting to see the two brothers. How did you
Yes,
feel
yes,
in
yes.
retrospect?
Okay, right. So I learned it from Sifu Yip Jun and Yip Jing, when I was young. And then, but, later on, I studied with another teacher, he also is under Sifu Yip Jing as well. So I learned a bit more about Yip Jing, and I also, went back to Hong Kong, with him, for some training as well. So I pay some one-on-one lesson with Yip Jing when I get older, when I'm about 25, 26 years old. So I just want to learn a bit more about his style, the Yip Jing style. Because the Yip Jing style, I've been learning for a long time, over 10 years. So basically, when I first start Wing Chun, I do 2 years, and then every summer holiday, I go back and do full time. If you've been to Hong Kong, there's a Yip Man, association, so I basically train there
Yes.
every single day when I go back to Hong Kong during my summer holiday, 3 months solidly. But anyway, so if you ask me about the difference, I would say Yip Jun, he using angle a little bit more. He like to use the inside hand because he's a bit shorter. So he's very smaller. So he's emphasized in the center line theory. He interested in the turning 捆手, 45-degree 捆手. Yeah, and but Yip Jing, he more like he's still using turning. He used the 扳手, for example, continuous attack. This is what he liked, and he liked to use the turning and stepping more forward, direct. So, for example, his famous is the lap sao and then double lap sao and then punch. So this kind of stuff, right? So he's a bit more direct. So for me, because I'm a medium side build, right? So I will say they both have good and bad, because if you're fighting to a bigger guy, it's better the Yip Jun way, because I use more angle, I can be a bit more relaxed, right? But
Okay.
if I'm bigger than my opponent, I think Yip Jing way is quite good because it's more direct, more forward. You get the job done if you like. So I think they both have their good and bad, if you like.
Yeah. Oh, it's interesting. It's interesting. Yeah, I did notice that point about the extending the fuck cells and stepping forward, through Grandmaster Yip Chin. I remember seeing that mainly in video. I never got to meet him in person. Not yeah,
Yes,
Master Yip Chin. I was getting confused. I never met Master Yip Chun
yes,
either. I would have loved to have met him. I don't think I'll be able to do it in this lifetime. But
I
oh well,
see, I see.
that's really really cool. That's a very powerful base that you would have picked up. All right. Well, look, I'll get on with the next question. I also already told you this, and, and noticing that, yeah, you've been very flexible with your approach to Wing Chun. You seem to mix and match a little, which seemed pretty cool. Talked about your history, which is good. Were there any teachers in particular that in all your study period that inspired you or helped you motivate your work, your direction, your research? Was there anybody in particular that sort of gave you certain inputs or?
So I think one of my teacher, he also is I'm not sure. Have you seen the 1980s, 1990s movie? There's a famous director. It's called Lau Ga Leung. He's a Hong Ga master. I'm not sure. Do you aware? Right? He had the Shaw Brother movie. Have you seen any
I
Shaw
have
Brother
to say
movie?
no. I have to say no. It does.
No, okay, no problem, no problem, no
Yeah,
problem.
yep.
So basically, I also learned Wing Chun and Hong Ga from another teacher, who is from a famous Lau family, Hong Ga. If you know the Hong Ga family history or whatsoever. But anyway, so this teacher also, showed me actually martial arts, disregarding Chinese Kung Fu or Western martial art. We can do mix and match. We don't have to just focus on one martial art, right? So, for example, no one say you do Wing Chun, you cannot do Hong Ga, or you do Hong Ga, you cannot do Tai Chi, right? So because my teacher, this particular teacher, he know a few different style, right? So, and then I start to learn a few different style from him. For example, I learned Hong Ga from him, I learned a bit Tai Chi from him, I learned a bit Wing Chun from him. I also learned Choreographer. I'm not sure, have you heard about this style? It's a
Yeah, yes,
Southern
definitely.
Chinese
Absolutely.
style. yeah. So you can see my Facebook. Sometimes I do some trolley foot form, etc., etc. So I think he's opened my eye, opened my journey. Actually, do one martial art is okay, but it is totally okay to do a few different martial art to see, what is the characteristic in each martial art and how to improve your own martial art by seeing more different martial arts.
Right, right. Well, speaking of Chalet foot, my first Sifu Jim Fung, he was a qualified a Chalet foot instructor, and he
Oh,
used to
that's really good.
combine. Yeah, he used to combine a lot of the training work in the 70s of the Chalet foot with Wing Chun. He used to say that
Perfect. Perfect.
a lot of the techniques were designed to counter internal systems like Pakwa, Chalet foot, and so he would be getting
Yes.
us to drill a lot of Chalet foot
Yes.
drills,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
I
yeah.
still
Because I think
uh,
trolley foot is more long ranges and long and mid range trolley foot,
yeah,
right? I think so. If you get some,
very large circles.
exactly. If you understand a bit more long range, mid range, then you can mix with your Wing Chun. You become more confident.
Yeah. Yeah, no. It was a big part of our upbringing in the 70s with the Chalet foot because Sifu Jim, he was a big practitioner of
Yes,
Chalet foot.
that's
Um,
great. That's great.
so that's really interesting because then even with Hungar, I mean, I don't know, people talk about history, but then you never really know what's the truth. But logically speaking, it would seem that Hungar in some way seems to be related to Wing Chun, especially when you start learning the long pole and other, the weapons. There seems to be some sort of connection to Hungar. That's what I've
Yeah,
always been,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
do you
Because
think
because
that
because
could be
because,
true?
because Because people sometimes they talk about Honga, yeah, Honga got tiger and crane. So and also they got five animal. Five animal, this means they got snake, they got dragon, they got tiger, they got leopard, this sort of thing. So this is why if you believe Wing Chun is come from snake and crane, so there's some overlapping, and also in Honga the last form, they call the iron wire form. Their stand is exactly like Wing Chun, like the open stand, the Yi Ji Kim Yong Ma. So it's exactly the same.
Yes.
So I believe there's some connection there.
Yeah. I've heard a lot
Yeah,
of stories, but I always play dumb and say, okay. I absorb, I listen because you never know.
yeah,
You never know.
yes, of course, of course, of
um,
course, of course. Yeah.
Okay, so all right, next question. So, what is it that you like in particular about Wing Chun, be it as an art and in combat application?
Right. So I think I quite enjoy Wing Chun the Chi Sao, the sensitivity training, right? So because I think it's quite I wouldn't say unique, but it's quite special for Wing Chun because Tai Chi they got push hand, Wing Chun they got Chi Sao, other style they got similar kind of drill, but I think the sensitivity in Wing Chun training in Chi Sao is quite special and is quite useful. So I quite like it because you can try to apply a lot of different Wing Chun techniques. Or it's like try and error, if you like. You can try different things in Chi Sao, right? And there's no rule, right? As long as you're doing it correctly, right? So I quite enjoy doing Chi Sao in Wing Chun and try to apply how to apply the Chi Sao skill into the sparring skill. So this is something even harder to do, right? But if you ask me what I like about Wing Chun, I like the Chi Sao practice in Wing Chun. I like the coast distance, time and space management in Wing Chun. I like the sensitivity, it helps the practitioner to build up, on the arm. So you're able to dealing with different situation in coast distance combats. And yeah, this is the stuff I like about Wing Chun.
Yeah. I have to say that I agree with you 1,000%, especially when it comes to the study of Chi Sao. I think it takes more than one lifetime, I think, to understand it. You can keep learning forever with Chisel.
Yes,
It's
yes, yes,
it's an
yes.
ongoing thing. So yeah, I agree with that. All right. So I have to try and be the host and keep these questions coming in. Okay.
That's okay,
So
Flora.
all
Yeah.
right. So we are set. I have done some. Okay. I'll talk about myself. I've done some basic study with Grandmaster Sam Chin, and I know you've
Yes,
met him as well. and I think he's a lovely person. Him and his family, his son and his family, they're all very, very knowledgeable. And it made me look at internal training from a different perspective. We've always had internal in our Wing Chun, especially with the Grandmaster Su Shung Tin. He was nothing but internal, and it is in them. I think a lot of things have been forgotten over the years, or people are not interested in pursuing it. Maybe is a better answer. And so, even though these things are in the Wing Chun, that can be taught, even though they're not, but they can be taught. I was impressed by Grandmaster Sam Chin and the way he was able to teach his internal. And it made me rethink a lot of stuff that I was doing in my Wing Chun. And I thought, wow, a lot of stuff that they were teaching me when I was a little boy, they told me these things, but I was too interested in punching, fighting, hitting, So seeing that you've had a meeting, you even did an interview with him, what are your experiences or thoughts, or maybe even if you've got any knowledge on history to internal training, or
right.
use it in your own approach?
Yes. So basically, the story is like this, when I have done about 15 years of Wing Chun, so I found, I have a bottleneck, right? I don't know how to improve, right? If you like, right? I can still doing the same thing again, and for the next 25 years, but I don't want to. I think, up to a point, I need to explore, I need to improve, I need to evolve myself. So, and then I start a journey, myself. If you look at my YouTube video, you can see, maybe 20 years ago, I start to, basically, I give myself a timeline. Every 3 to 5 years, I do one martial art constantly. For example, first martial art I do is Muay Thai, Thai boxing. And then I will went to Thailand to try to test my skill a little bit, right? And then I did Systema, right? To just follow one teacher in UK. And then, I went to Moscow, to see some master there to test my Systema skill, right? Etc., right? So, and up to a point, right? I met a teacher, right, which is a Chen style Tai Chi, yeah, is in my area. So he is quite good, right? Remember the first time, when I saw him, I already done, maybe 20 years martial arts. He gave me 2 fingers here, right? He said, okay, right, try to bend my fingers, right? I said, okay, right, I can do finger locks, in Systema or in other martial arts, they got finger locks, right? So, and no matter what I do, I cannot bend his finger. Right. And then I wonder, wow, what is it? This is something I never experienced before. So I said, okay, right, I need to learn this, right? So I said, from now on, I'm going to see you every single week, until I able to do that. Yeah. So, and then I spent about maybe 3 to 5 years with him, right? And his name is called Fei Bing. You see my YouTube video. One of the video is called Wing Chun Meet Internal Martial Art. But anyway, so I spent about 5 years with him to learn the Chen style Tai Chi. And then he told me, I've already taught you everything. And I said, oh, I don't think so. Only 5 years, I learned everything. He said, yeah, you learned the skill already. You need to train it, to become perfect. Okay, so I understand, then, basically the story is, long story short, is I don't believe in him because I don't think internal martial art you can master in 3 years or 5 years, right? I said, where do you learn your skill from? He said he learned it from Beijing in one of his teacher, right? It's called Sifu Leo. So I said, okay, right, when are you going to China? I'm going with you. I'm going to see your teacher. In my mind, I want to confirm what I learned. Is it genuine? Is it legit? So I went to China to see his teacher, this Sifu Leo. You can see my video on YouTube. Yeah. So, and I can confirm the stuff he taught me is the same stuff, he taught his student in Beijing, right? But anyway, so after that, I'm a bit, I'm happy, I learned some skill, but I don't think internal martial art is just like that, So then I'm looking for teachers. So at that time, and then Sam Chin just come up in my radar because he's just come to UK to do his first seminar, right? It's a like 1 week seminar, something like that. I forgot 1 week. It's a 1 week seminar, something like that. So, and then I contact him, and then I take 1 or 2 students with me to go there to experience his style. Basically, this is how I start. The Sam Chin internal style. This is just part of my journey. I wouldn't say it's not the end. It's just, what part of my journey, Samchin internal. So yeah, if you want me to comment about it, right? Of course, I don't know much about it. I only been there like 2 weeks, right? I went to the first one. I also went to the second one for his training camp. I only been to 2 times. So if you ask me, am I know his system? I don't think so, but I just get a brief understanding. So he able to show me some of the principle in internal. Yeah. So the way he explained it, the way how, what he see is internal. So I think some of the principle is quite good and useful. I totally agree. Some of them, maybe not my cup of tea, if you like, right? I'm not saying who is right, who is wrong. It's just maybe not 100% what the path I would like to take, if you like.
Yeah, I understand.
Yep.
If I can just say a little piece is that I had a little bit of frustration, nothing to do with him, nothing to do with the
Yep.
style. It's
Yes.
just it's just a completely different mindset to the way I've been brought up, right? So the way
Yes.
I've been taught to look at energy, balancing points, pressure points, or contact points, and center line, energy lines. It's similar, but we have a different priority. The only person that comes very close to him, I think, is Su Shung Tin, because I think Su Shung Tin was completely passive in his ability. He had a very passive approach. When you've got a very fighter's mentality, it's not easy to maintain the Zhongxing Dao mentality, because you have to be very meditative, you have to be very peaceful, you have to be very, it's not as easy. You have to be very like a Zen warrior,
Yes.
it's
Yes. Yes.
a
So
it's
so
different,
but,
it's a different type of
I,
stuff.
yeah, I would say his style work, right? But it's just not the
Yeah.
approach, I would be 100% commit, if you like, right? So no, I'm not going to discredit him or whatsoever. He's a good guy. He's a
No,
good
no, no,
fighter.
I think he's
His
really
skill set
good.
is good. Everything, yeah, yeah, he is really good. I respect him. I'm a huge respect from him. So
Yeah, yeah.
after I have learned from Sam Chin, a little bit, and then I understand, the way he do it, then I also keep exploring, my internal aspect. So, and then I found a guy, who is in Hong Kong, and he teaching the Yang style Tai Chi, right? This Sifu Chan, if you call him Sifu Chan. And then this is actually, at the moment, I still practice with him. So I think the Yang style Tai Chi is more or less, what I'm looking for, if you like, right? So my primary internal training at the moment is from the Yang style Tai Chi at the moment.
Young, if I'm not wrong, is more, it puts a lot more emphasis on circular energy. If I'm not wrong, the Chan seems to be more combative, a little more direct with their energy. It's still circular, but it's different. They elongate their energy a lot as well. I've been able to exchange with a few people from the Yang and the Chen. The Chen is definitely different, definitely more combative. But I have a student who teaches Tai Chi, and he says that in reality, he feels that to learn the Yang approach, I mean, these are all opinions. I don't want to claim to be an
Yes,
explaining,
yes,
but he was saying that the Yang methodology helps people to understand energy and their body a lot
yes,
better.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. Purely Yang style is about the internal energy. Purely
Yeah,
is about the energy flow inside the body, which is something and lack of, or not many martial arts can offer that kind of understanding and training, right? So this is why I'm interested about it. This is why I train about it at the moment, right? So how you're able to manipulate the inside body without you doing anything outside, if you like, right? So this is
yes.
quite fascinating. This is quite fascinating. So at the moment, yeah, I'm concentrating doing it for the last, maybe 5, 6 years, something like that. So yeah, I still doing it. So yeah, I enjoy it so far.
All right. Okay. So let's
Yeah.
look at this next list of questions. Well, all right. So let's change subject. I mean, still talking about Wing Chun, but when it comes to teaching, all right, so you got your teaching, and what would your priorities be? Let's say teaching a beginner student who enters this marvelous world of Wing Chun, because, as you know, nowadays, especially with the input of social media, internet, etc., they have so much information available, and Wing Chun is not exactly an easy sale as it used to be. So, they tend to get, I mean, I know what it's like here in Italy, especially working security for so many years. The first things the guys say to me goes, "Oh yeah, you're the guy that does Wing Chun. You guys say we don't do that." Shut up, will you? It's like, yeah, but it's everyone thinks we jump around like little rabbits, hitting each other in the face. Nothing, no, it's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
that. you know. But say sometimes to make an impact, on the beginners, it's not an easy thing. It's much easier for me to teach the older students. They know what they want. They're established. They've been there for years, and it's easy to guide them. But a young gun or a young person who's coming into the world, how do you approach it?
So basically, I think I teach all my students almost the same approach, right? I want them to understand martial arts or Chinese kung fu as a whole. I don't want them to just limit it into Wing Chun or particular one style, right? So yes, that's right. They come to me to do Wing Chun. For example, my school, I teach every week. I teach 2 hour Wing Chun and 2 hours Tai Chi and 2 hour kickboxing. So if the
Okay.
student they're willing to come to 6 hours a week, right? They were able to expose to different martial arts, right? So what I see is no matter what martial art you do, the most important is are you able to apply your art when you need to, right? If you just only do Wing Chun, yeah, so you're probably quite comfortable in close range, you're quite comfortable in Chi Sao, you're quite comfortable the stuff you are doing every on a weekly basis. But when things doesn't go as you plan. For example, someone really good at kicking. For example, someone take you in the ground, etc., etc. You can be feeling quite overwhelmed or helpless. So my aim is try to explain to them is yes, Wing Chun is good in certain area, but it's not everything about martial arts. Yeah, martial art or fighting is a lot of different components. So I want them to have exposure of, for example, internal martial art, for example, a little bit more external like kickboxing, sparring, and also, explore a little bit more like Wing Chun Chi Sao, sensitivity training. So this will be my approach, and then they can pick and choose what they want to do and what they like. For example, some younger people, they may want to be more active, be more kickboxing, sparring, these sort of things, right? For a bit older
Yeah.
gentleman, or older person, they may be more prefer less combat, more internal training, more health oriented training. So I try to provide everything to everyone and make them, to get what they want in their training journey.
Great. I'm stealing all your secrets here, Sifu.
There's no secret. There's no secret, There's no secret, I just try to do my best, that's it, Yeah, there's no secret. I believe you do
But
your Wing Chun best as well, so
yeah,
yeah.
I think that's great. I think that if you're able to split up your classes and offer a service like that, it's not easy because some people have to go to different gyms to obtain that result. So to able to
Yeah.
cross train like that in one gymnasium, I think it's a pretty good achievement. Which is not,
Yeah.
um, one question that I didn't put in the list, which I don't think I'll catch you off guard, but did you train anything in terms of like weapons, knives, sticks, or anything like that, or
Yeah,
have you
yeah,
cross
yeah, yeah.
trained in any of?
Basic. Yeah, of course. I wouldn't turn a blind eye into weapon. So, for example, Hong Gar training, they will have a pole. Like the two end pole, the shorter pole, right? So long. Wing Chun do the
Okay.
long pole. We call the one end pole. We only use one end, right?
Yep.
But Hong Gar they use both end. Yeah, and so I learned the pole from the Hong Gar. I learned the the saw, the Chinese saw from Hong Gar as well, right? So, and
Right.
also Wing Chun, we got Bajamdo, and also Wing Chun, we got the long pole. So, and also I learned a spear, in the Hongga as well, so it's more Chinese oriented weapons, if you like. So you may ask me why I don't do, for example, Philippine style, yeah, like Kali or Select or these sort of things, right? It's not I don't want to do it, but it's just one thing it caught my mind is most of the time, when Philippine style, they train knife against knife or knife against stick. They always is weapon against weapon. But in our, in our England here, right, in our country here, you hardly able to bring a knife with you. It's illegal, right? And I hardly bring a stick with me. So I think the training is a bit, not suitable, in our country because I don't have my weapon. I only have empty hand, right? So, this is why I will say, I wouldn't like to fight a knife, to give me a wrong feeling. I have done knife training. I can empty hand, fighting a knife. I wouldn't even do it even I learn life self-defense, right? Because the consequence, if they stop me
Yeah.
one or twice, I'm dead. Yeah, I'd rather run. Tell you the truth,
Sure,
if I drop
sure,
a
I
chance, I
understand.
wouldn't even take a chance. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't like to go into that territory, like empty hand against knife or use a knife against knife. I don't want to do that because it's like, it's too dangerous and we shouldn't do that anyway. If a person have knife, why you don't want to fight him? Just this create distraction and then just go. Go home is your best option, really.
Yeah. Well, still the let's say the benefits that because I grew up growing up in Australia, we grew up with the Filipino systems, and I had a very good mate who trained under Grandmaster Kekoy
Yes,
Kenyeti, and
yes.
so he taught me a lot of the basics to do chapatis, and he's
That's really good.
a very tough man, very, very tough man. But
Yeah,
he taught me a lot, and but I think the good thing is about weapons, whether it's Filipino, whether it's Chinese, whether it's
yes,
the Bacham
yes.
Dao or the long pole, is that a weapon, I believe, helps you really refine your system, your fighting style, your
Of course,
capacity
yeah.
to generate energy.
As a training tools is perfect, as a training tool. So yeah, I do the weapon, Don't get me wrong, I do the weapon, but if I got a mistake on the street, right? Of course, I will use it, right? But it's just like
Obviously,
the chance is really slim. The chance is quite slim in my eye, you know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's fair
yeah,
enough. That's fair enough.
but my the next category, the next martial art I would like to train in the near future maybe is the select. I'm quite interested in the select. So if I
Yes, so
have
that
chance
seems
and
pretty.
time and
It,
yeah,
it
I
seems
will
to
do it.
have a few things very similar to Wing Chun concepts. I've noticed in Salat.
Yes, yes, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Sometimes
yeah.
I look
So
at it.
yeah,
Sometimes I look at it and I say, have they
yeah,
did they rob something from us? But you can't say that because they've been around for years. So
yeah,
there's a lot of similarities.
exactly,
There's
exactly.
some pretty good there's some pretty good teachers in Salat. So
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, this will be the next on my list when when I have a chance, when I'm able to meet someone, able to point me in the right direction. If possible, we'll give it a try. Tell the truth.
yeah. The
Yes,
okay, well, the next question was
yes.
all right, hang on. Let me just think this question through a moment. Do you perceive combat sports? Okay, no, it's a good question. All right. Do you perceive combat sports as a positive or a negative input for growing, side by side with traditional martial arts? How do you see the two combining with each other, like
So so
living in today's societies? Because we
so
do
so
have a
so
lot of
for
arguments between one and the other.
for example, what a combat sport? You mean like boxing, kickboxing, or traditional Wing Chun, something like that?
Well,
What do you mean combat
let's say
sport?
that nowadays, or at least from in our group, we've sort of cut the barriers. With boxing, in my group, I've got
Yes,
2 times next world champion of boxing.
yes, yes,
I've like Burley, who's 52 blocks, and we started to see things very similarly. But that's because I did a lot of boxing and
yes,
understood certain
yes,
principles in Wing Chun and how to apply that. And I saw the
yes,
connections in boxing. But what we're
yes.
doing is still Wing Chun. I don't want to confuse this issue. So I feel that some barriers have been achieved with boxing, but definitely there's probably more friction with MMA fighters, jiu-jitsu fighters, I've
Yes,
broken
yes,
some
yes,
barriers with Greek Roman wrestling because my coach is a Greek Roman wrestler, but he also learns Wing Chun. So we had to sort of
yes,
like
yes.
find,
I
so
see.
there's always this, yeah, come on the mat and see if your stuff is good, mate. Let's see if you can make it work on the mats, and I'm thinking,
Yes, 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 yes.
geez,
I tell you the truth. I tell you the truth. I think it's a good approach. Because like if for example, let's say I'm doing Wing Chun, right? How do I know my stuff does it work for a judo practitioner? How do I know my stuff is work for against a boxer, right? So this is why I do boxing, I do jujitsu, I do judo. Then I put myself there. Okay, right? I at least I know. In Chinese, we got a saying, know your enemy, knowing yourself, you win 1,000 battle. Understand? So I know myself, I know Wing Chun, but I don't know my enemy. I don't know what judo people they're doing. I don't know what jiu-jitsu people are doing. So the chance I win the battle is really slim. So this is why, I don't mind. I go back to, the white belt in judo or jiu-jitsu. I start to learn, their skill, right? And then after that, when I have experience in, let's say, jiu-jitsu, then I will try to apply my Wing Chun skill there. Then I'm convincing to tell people, oh, actually, Wing Chun does work against Jiu-Jitsu, or Wing Chun doesn't work against Jiu-Jitsu whatsoever, right? So, I think the best way is, I set up an example to my student. I'm going to show you, I'm going to spend a few years to doing this art, and I tell you, does it work or not? So, I'm not against
yeah,
any
yeah,
combat sport. I enjoy doing it. I will try my best to doing it, even I'm not young anymore, but I will do my best, and
yeah.
then I will able to tell my student what work, what doesn't work.
Yeah, I've had that fortune of being able to collaborate with people from other systems, mainly because of the work I did in security. Because in security, you get people from many different fighting systems, right? You get them from
Yes,
judo, you get them from jiu-jitsu, you get them from sandai, you get them from boxing, you get them from
that's
kickboxing, you get them from
perfect.
Thai boxing, K1. They're
Yes,
all in there, and everyone's pumping. So the thing is that as long as you get your respect on the job,
yes,
that's already a
yes,
big step, And fortunately
yes,
enough, I was able to get my respect there. And through there, I
yeah,
was able to trade off, meet really, really important people who was doing more titles and stuff. And,
that's good.
train with them, get my ass kicked, but then also show,
Yep.
the advantages of, how
Yes,
good Wing Chun was in
yes,
certain ranges, because Wing Chun, if it is applied well in the short range, especially when you've got a riot, or when you've got
yes,
3 or 4 people, or when people are going crazy at short distance, like I wouldn't know. I mean, apart from boxing, I wouldn't know what else to use, but pressing in at
yes,
close
yes.
range, Wing Chun is on working as
It's one of the good,
security
one
has
of the
always
good one.
worked for
Yeah.
me. Has always worked for
Yes,
me,
yes, yes,
So,
yes,
but it's been good
yes,
because
yes.
it's good to
Yes,
break yourself down and allow yourself to lose, and to learn, because
yes.
the rest you're never going to learn. But
Exactly,
anyway,
exactly. So yeah, my aim is, like um every martial arts, got something to offer. I wouldn't put down any martial art. At the end of the day, it's the fighter, it's the person, right? So, this always,
absolutely.
this is I always respect that. So this is why, I always like to open my mind, to learn, to exchange from other and learn from each other. And at the end, I just make my skill set better. So this is what I'm looking for, basically.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
And it's really good how you've been able to dedicate yourself to all these different systems. And if I'm not wrong, I think you were telling me that you did like 2 years in each one, and then you went to the country
Yes.
of origin
Yes,
to do
yes.
like a final exam. Is
Exactly.
it
Yeah, just
exams?
try to test myself. Just try to
That's
take
bloody impressive. That's impressive. That's a very big commitment. I really admire that.
yeah.
So I think that's excellent. And
Yeah.
I mean that's
Because
that's a
like
very big sacrifice.
because if you don't try, you never know, isn't it? Really, do you know what I'm saying? The only one thing is you try out and you test it yourself. This is the only way. There's no other way, really.
Well, that's why I really started looking more at what you're doing, because I thought, hang on, here's somebody else, that seems to have similar views to the way I look at things. Because I'm honest, I'm at an age that I use social media so much, but I'm not that big on computers and stuff. And and if it wasn't for Adam Prato talking about him, he's got to pay me a commission for this this advertising I'm doing for him. No, I'm only joking. But if it wasn't for Adam, honestly, and then of course it's going to lead me to my next question, which is probably the more important, one of the most important ones. I wouldn't have known about you or known very little about you. I'd seen maybe about two or three videos in some of the forums that I moderate or I administrate, because I administrate moderate I think about 12 to 15 forums.
Right.
It's just press a button and someone breaks my balls, I block them, and that's done. But I started watching. I said, okay, let's take some time, because it's time consuming to watch videos as well. So that's how about you.
Yeah.
Well, so it brings me to probably the most important part of the interview, which I'm very curious about. So I was told that you'd done fight choreography, right? I'd done it for a little movie, but you've done it for big movies. You've done that for, I believe, 3 Yip Man movies. I was totally stunned. We have an international figure here, and so congratulations with that.
Yeah.
So, did you want to share your experience, what it was like?
Okay, right.
How did it go?
Yeah, so I just summarize. I'm not going to take you too long to tell you every single one, but summarize. The mission is like that. The mission is because at that time, there's not many people know about who is Bruce Lee teacher, right? A lot of people know Bruce Lee. I think you probably know Bruce Lee as well, right? So a lot of people know who is Bruce Lee, but not many people know who is the teacher for Bruce Lee. So, the first movie, the aim or the purpose is, we try to introduce what is Wing Chun and who is the teacher of Bruce Lee, right? So this is how everything starts. And then later on, I'm working on the second and the third is about, we are thinking about, okay, right. Okay, we want to show people, right, more Wing Chun, because people, they start to understand who is Yip Man, and they start to have more interest about Wing Chun. So I do the second one to show a bit more Wing Chun techniques, etc., etc. Yeah, and then the third one I did is Yip Man Final Fight, right? I'm not sure, have you seen it or not? It's Anthony Raw.
I've seen segments of it. I've seen parts of it.
I see. Yeah. So that one is basically, because when I was young, I hang out with Yip Jun a lot, right? So because after the lesson, I would ask him, oh, Sifu, do you want to have a lunch together? Because I want to ask him questions. Because in Chinese Kung Fu, the teacher, sometimes they don't directly teach you. It's usually the Xiheng, the Kung Fu brother and sister, senior, to teach you, right? So sometimes I want some one-on-one attention. So this is why I asked him, I said, oh, Sifu, do you want to have lunch together, right? Because my lesson is in the afternoon, right? We finish at about 12:30. So sometimes he say yes, sometimes he say no, right? So when we went out for lunch, I asked him a lot of questions about Yip Man. I asked him a lot of questions about Bruce Lee, same as every Wing Chun practitioner, right? So I learned a lot of, I get a lot of knowledge from there, if you like, right? So the Yip Man Final Fight is we try to portray, or we try to show all this knowledge, all the story he told me, about Bruce Lee, about Yip Man, and we put it in that movie to show people, if you like, right? So the experience. Yeah. So a lot of things, he told me about Bruce Lee.
That's quite interesting. That's quite interesting.
Yeah. The backstory, but of course, people, if they haven't really talked to Yip Jun, they don't know. But I know, I talked to him one-on-one, So anyway, so this is the idea, So you asked me about the fight choreographer. Yes, because we want to show a bit more Wing Chun movement, because before that, before Yip Man, there are not many Wing Chun movies. There's a few, but we want to, just give them a facelift, if you like, more modern style, Wing Chun, how to make it look nice, and people, they will like it, and hopefully more people train Wing Chun, and want to promote Wing Chun, want to promote who is Bruce Lee teacher, and then also, try to promote a little bit about all the story I heard from Yip Jun, and we can show people, I think this is quite fascinating, because not many people able to learn from Yip Jun directly, one-on-one, and know all this story. But if you can put it in the movie and more people know about it, why not?
Well, I don't know, because I read about once. I'm not sure if it was a direct quote from Master Yip Chun, but I remember him talking about the first Yip Man movie, but not the trilogy with Donnie Yen. It's the story before that when he was younger, and I think
Yes,
Yip Chun
yes,
was actually in the movie. Okay,
yes,
and
exactly.
I think he
Actually,
was saying,
actually,
"Yep,
actually, I work on that one. Actually, I work on that one because that one is called Yip Man, The Legend is Born, right?
yeah,
And
that's
then
it, that's
if you
right."
yeah, if you remember, the fight scene in the herb store, Yip
Yeah.
Jun fight, Dennis To, and actually, I choreographed that fight scene. If you remember, Yip Jun doing that, in the
Really?
movie.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
I
yeah,
remember that
yeah,
scene.
yeah. Because this is Yip Jun's signature move. When you tease up with Yip Jun, he always do that. I learned it from him. So I said, okay, my Sifu, I choreograph a fight scene, or a signature move in the movie to show people this is your fighting style. This is why his stand is like this, right? So because I learned from him, so I try to choreograph that for him. This is actually the backstory.
I love these backstories. I love it. I love it. That brings it, gives
Yeah,
it more meaning as well.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
really,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know. But I also remember him saying, at least that's what was quoted in the article, that that first movie there, that particular one, was more truer to Master Yip Man's life than the other movies.
Yes,
That was a
yes,
bit
yes,
more, that was a bit more real than the other stories. I mean,
yes.
whatever.
You're right.
Every movie's always got its exaggerations for sure. They got to make it spectacular for sure. But
Yeah,
he was
yeah,
saying
yeah.
that story wise, that was probably more truthful than the ones with Donnie Yen.
Yes, 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 you're right. Because the Donnie Yen one is more commercial, if you like, because they're looking for a
Yeah,
higher budget, they're looking for a more return. But that one is sort of a smaller budget movie. So this is why we got a
yeah.
bit more control. So we got more control on the story. We more or less we want to tell the story, the true story, rather than just entertaining the audience, if you like.
But that was a pretty good movie though.
Yeah,
That
yeah, yeah,
first
yeah,
one
yeah, yeah,
with it.
yeah. Yeah, the first one is good. The first one definitely is good. Yeah,
Yeah, I thought it was quite good actually, and I thought the
yeah.
fighting was pretty good in it as well. Yeah, yeah, I liked it.
Yes,
I thought
yes,
that,
of course. Yeah, yeah. So,
and
so
yeah,
if you look back, right, the first one is Donnie Yen one, right? We use most of the technique is from the first form and the second form. And then if you're looking at Yip Man, the Legend is Born, we deliberately, doing the fight scene from the dummy and from the BG. So basically, I show the whole Wing Chun system, right? The first Donnie Yen one, I show more Silim Toe and Chom Kill movement. And then the Yip Man, the Legend is Born, I deliberately show more dummy movement and the BG movement.
oh, that's really cool. That's another interesting thing. Okay,
Yeah, yeah. If you go back to look at it, you will see what I
yeah,
meant.
yeah, definitely. I've
Yeah,
got them all on my hard drive. I've got every one
that's good.
of
Thank
the
you very much.
movies,
I appreciate it.
and
Yeah, that's great.
so yeah. But did you actually sort of like get in contact? Did you train a little bit, do a bit of contact or choreography with Donnie in as well, or?
Yeah. I did. Basically, what happened is, for the first one, I did the training, for the stuntman, and also from Samuel Hong. He is the
Yes.
action director for the first movie. So I worked closely with him for about 6 weeks, and then after that, the actor will come along. Then, we will show the actor. We will help the actor to do the movement. So yeah. So my title is the Wing Chun consultant for the movie. So my job is make sure the Wing Chun can be correctly delivered in the movie, basically.
Wow. Wow. Well,
Yeah.
look, I think I've run out of questions, Sifu Leo, and I don't know. I should have written down another 20. I think I could pick your brain all night. And
Don't worry. We still can talk, in the future. Don't worry. You always can grab me, I'm always ready, for you, So maybe
that
we
would
can do
be
it next time or whatsoever. It doesn't matter.
absolutely. Well, look,
Yeah.
all I can say is thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking out the time and to have a chat. I hope to get this file soon, so I'd love to post this out to the forums and so people know more about you as well. I mean, you'd be
That's great.
surprised how many people don't know, about who's in the world, who's teaching, who's not teaching,
Yeah.
and what's really happening. And
Yeah.
then, and
So
I
anyway,
think with the
yeah,
experience,
but good
I
to
think
talk
with
to
the
you as well,
experience, with all
Yep.
the training that you've done, you've certainly got a lot to offer, mate, which is really cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me for your for a podcast. I appreciate it, and hopefully yeah, we can talk again soon. Okay,
Yeah, maybe we can meet up in the near future.
that's great. That's great. Okay, right. Okay, so I